Hello, dear professor. Good afternoon.
Hi, Samira. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm ready for the semester to be over. I will tell you that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I don't know about you, Samira, but man, in the other classes, my students are tired. They do not want to do any more work.
Hi, Professor.
Hey, Susanna.
No, dear professor. Actually, I'm not from your class because it's for me it's very special class, dear professor. I learn by there every day. I'm learn a new lesson, new thing. For me, it's very interesting.
Thank you, Samira. You're making a teacher very happy.
Okay.
You should come to my 350 class. They don't want to do anything. They're done. Hey, Susanna. Hey, Layla.
Hello.
How's the house? Is everything okay?
No,
Oh no. Is it a big project? What's going on?
in new house and a lot of project. I covered the yard, a small cover,
Yeah.
and I need to buy furniture, fountain water, and I don't know the English, but I know the Farsi. Something we put in a garden to don't dirt come inside the yard.
Around
I
gate,
don't
a fence?
not a fan.
And
A
like,
little things. I don't know what is mean the English in
Huh?
Farsi.
what's the
Unfortunately,
first thing?
Yeah, what is it in Farsi?
I forgot again. Unfortunately, I live my country for 10 years,
Remember from your
and
next
unfortunately, I forgot a lot of Farsi and didn't learn English.
but Turkish, right? You had to learn a lot of Turkish, if I remember
uh,
correctly.
for in the because I didn't talk with anybody, I start to forget.
Yeah. Makes sense. This is one thing we know about children, adults, when it comes to language. It's like musical instrument too. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yes, and my home has a lot of things to do, paint a cabinet or a lot of things, and I'm alone. I do everything. I found people to do, but it's expensive.
It's
Just
so
a small cover, it got cost how much? Almost $5,000. A
is it
small. For what?
for shade? Like cover, you mean for shade?
Exactly. I show you.
Is it like I was gonna
It's nice. It's really nice, but
I thought we'd see a picture. I think it's a pergola. My guess is the vocab word is it's a pergola. Let's
I
find.
don't know. You can see it.
Oh no. Okay.
This is
Oh,
cover with fan.
I guess that's an awning. I don't know what I would call that.
They say cover patio cover, something the same
Yeah,
thing.
Like
it's patio. It's a patio.
a covered patio awning. This is. It looks like an awning, but usually awnings are fabric. That's why I wouldn't. I don't know. You know what I mean? These are awnings.
I have the paper. And yesterday, I government come and uh, check it. Uh, he said it's good. It's wonderful.
That's why.
A lot of things. I'm I'm married, but I'm the same single mom exactly because he works and he study. And you know who study in the Davies, they want just A+. He doesn't care about A. He doesn't have challenge. My husband doesn't have challenge with A. He wants just A+, A+, A+.
a
When
perfect.
he want A+, the perfect way.
That's all.
When he wants the perfect, we miss him.
I understand.
And I sometimes I say I talk to him. I'm single mom because I do everything.
I I'm a recovering perfectionist myself, so I understand. I understand. But you gotta.
His name is Soul Cover. They say his name is Soul Cover.
Got it. Well, it looks
full
good.
cover, they say.
I'm sorry it was so expensive. I know. Hey, but one of the
It's
best,
small.
yeah, one of the best things about living in California is that you can be outside. So I think anything to make your yard or your house more comfortable to live outside, I think is really good investment. Human beings shouldn't be trapped
Yes,
inside looking at screens all day. That's not what we're meant for.
It's like I'm kind of doing the same thing too, but I have to make a concrete. Today after class, I'm gonna go get some concrete, you know, the things to come. The mix. It's the mix. I'm just gonna bring it, mix together. I have a little place. I'm just gonna do like a little concrete. So I can put my barbecue machine over there because I bought this giant, like above ground pool. So I didn't know it's that kind of giant.
It's
So
too
it's too big. It's terribly big. So I have to like rearrange my backyard and I have to move my gazebo. And it's terribly big. So I have to rent the tools, you know, those piano, you know, the moving things like you just put under. So I have to rent those to put under so I can slowly move that. And then so I can put the pool because it's apparently 22 by 12. So it's terribly big, you know, so I have to do that. So now I have to make another place for the barbecue machine and then I have to move that thing so I can open the pool.
I'll be honest with you though, that sounds more fun than writing essays.
Well, it is fun.
I like projects like that, but I know time and money. I mean, I know it takes a lot of time and it costs money. All that stuff's really real.
You know, I am very hands-on person, you know. I just like I renovate my own kitchen. I just changed the cabinets colors and everything from very dark brown. I just made it to white. So I just shoved to the Home Depot, got the stuff, you know, just took the color, like the coatings off and everything. Then I just like buff it and then just paint it.
I like it.
It looks good.
I like it.
Yeah, so most of the time it's my thing to do.
I love it.
Very hands-on, yeah.
Yes, I paint my home.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice because you after that you see what you did. It's very nice, but with the kids, with the toddler, oh my goodness, it was really hard.
Yeah, I know it is wild. That's why like when I was like I did this room last year because I mean it was gray, but again I just wanted to change it another shade of gray. So
yeah,
I was doing the room and my kids they were just like coming. I was like, get that out of the room, run, no, get out, you cannot come here.
Yeah,
it was crazy, but it's fun, you know. I like it. I like doing projects.
I know. Even the last house where that I was renting and I still painted because I wanted to like the place where I live, you know. I think it's important.
Yeah.
As Hyperfocus talks about, you know, your setting, your environment is very important for
very important
for how you feel and what you focus on and all that stuff. So I'm just saying hi. Some people were saying hi in the chat. I also see that a bunch of folks are here. So hi Nasima and Sudaba and who else? I see Fazia and Nadia's here and lots of folks today. So it's good to see you guys. This might be our group. Cool. Well, again, I am happy to talk about anything. I'm just happy to talk to students who are happy. Again, like I'm not saying bad things about my other classes, but oh my God, yesterday's classes were really difficult, you guys. People did not want to say or do anything. It was very painful. It's all good. I mean, we're all tired, you know, it's all good.
Excuse me, Professor. I listened your I don't know record Zoom meeting. I for 20 minutes time for the two questions. I did, but I wasn't successful. When I saw the video, the student is more better than me.
Well, so what's your question? Are you just saying what's your question?
In here, how we can find in this book, especially
Yeah.
when we read the same 310, when we read the reading book, it was easier to find the main idea.
You think so?
Yeah, it was easier, but right here in this book, I can't find main idea.
Well, what book did you read in 310?
310, 5 people you meet in heaven.
Yeah, well, that's not a book. I mean, this class prepares you for research writing. This is a book that's got, like, if you look at the back of the book, there's like 30 pages of sources because I mean, this is so what I want to be careful here. Again, Layla, I hope you know how much I respect. Not everything you're saying makes sense. You know what I mean? I don't think nothing you're saying is wrong or bad. I will just say, yeah, I think this book should be a little bit harder to read than 5 people you meet in heaven. Do you know what I mean? But I will say, but I also do want to say, I choose this book for this class because I think it's pretty easy to understand. Like, the ideas are big ideas, but he's got bullet points and lists. I mean, he repeats things over and over again. So if you're having trouble identifying the main idea, it just means, unfortunately, like, more practice. So you're doing exactly what you need to be doing. Maybe you're just frustrated because you wish you were already there. You know what it like? But that makes sense. Like I said, I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I want to be able to do everything perfectly the first time. I know that that's not possible. It takes effort and practice, and before the end of the semester, at the scatter focus parts near the end of the book, and I don't think anyone, if people are there, great, but if not, he talks about this idea of 10,000 hours. Like, how does a person become an expert at a subject or a genius piano player? It takes a lot of time. So I would just say that even more important than the writing, like you watched last week about practicing a summary or paraphrasing, what you're talking about, Layla, I think is like a reading skill. And this skill, I would just suggest keep going. Like, it's painful and it sucks and it's hard work, but it's so valuable. Like, the more comfortable you get reading a book like this and trying to get the main idea, like, the only way to do it is to do it. I wish that, like I said, I wish I could wave a wand and be like, now you are a perfect critical reader. But like, if you're reading and still going like, man, this is hard, then you're doing the work. You know what I mean? Some students, no one in this class, of course, everyone in this class is a perfect angel. Some students don't even read the book. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't even want to feel the this is hard feeling, so they don't even read the book. You're doing the reading. That's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it.
Thank you.
That was a big, long answer. That was like your motivational speaker answer, Layla. That was like, it makes sense. It should be hard, but not too hard. And that's my job, is the balance, right? Like, when students feel this is too hard, it's impossible, that I don't want you to feel like it's impossible. That is not good. But to feel like, wow, this is new, or wow, this is hard. It's where the learning happens, it's where the learning happens. Cool. So I've got a couple activities for us today, but before we do that, I was just thinking, let me just get an idea, either type in the chat or let me know, how are you guys feeling? Should I just put you in groups for a few minutes to talk to each other? Should we start right away with the book? How are you guys feeling? What do you need today?
Either one.
I'm checking the chat. Khatima, unmute yourself and talk, Khatima. Let me see. Khatima's asking.
I have questions.
Yeah, I can hear you. Please, what's your question?
Yeah, like yesterday, I checked the summarizing. I'm not able to open the page. I do with my phone and on my computer, but I asked Roxanne. She said the same thing. She said, no, I can do it too.
For the essay?
No, for summarizing.
Let me do this. I'm going to put you into groups. I know what I'm going to do then. I'll look at this. What Khatima's talking about, I will look at this in Canvas while you... while I'm doing that, I want to do this. Let's do one question about life and one question about hyperfocus. And where were we supposed to be with hyperfocus? Last week we got to about page 50, if I recall correctly. Well, like 45, something like that. The schedule that I put up, and I think I only need to post 2 more chapters, you guys. I'm almost done with that. So today's the 22nd. So in a perfect world, you've read through page 131. Let's even just say the first 100 pages, okay? But oh, I just wanted to show chapter 6, 7, 8, and 9 are there for you to listen to as well now. What questions do you have about the first 100 pages of hyperfocus? So this could be anything. If you've only read the first 5 and you have a question about page 5, that's fine. If you've read up to page 100 and you have a question about something you read on page 100, like Layla, if there's something, a page from last week's Zoom or something, an idea that's still really confusing, that's what I want you to talk about, right? What are the ideas in this book that are confusing? Because before we talk about the final essay, of course, the final essay is going to be about ideas from this book. So I want to use the Zoom classes to make sure you feel good and you feel comfortable about the ideas in the book, okay? So I'll put you in small groups. Maybe we'll just do 3 groups, warm up, talk to each other about, you know, these 2 questions or any other questions. So one is a life question. We have 3 weeks of school left. How are you feeling about your classes? And what questions do you have about the first 100 pages of hyperfocus? And for me, as your teacher, the more specific the question you have about the book, the easier my life will be, because then I can give you helpful information. Cool. Makes sense what I want you to do in the warm-up. Cool. Let me get the rooms open here. And Fatima, I'll go look in Canvas and see if there's any computer problems, okay?
Okay.
Gracias. Where's my breakout room thing? There we go. All right. I'll see you guys. We'll keep it short. I'll see you guys in about 10 minutes. Rooms open now. So we're in small groups. I'm going to put you into room 3. If you're able to talk, I'll send you to room 3. We're in groups right now.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We're in small groups and we're going to come back in just maybe a minute or two. So maybe just hang out with me because I think it's going to be too short to put you into a group right now.
Okay.
And then everybody will be back in a minute.
In a minute? Okay.
Just about. You want to, or do you want to go in and see if you can get in there?
Yeah, maybe I can wait.
Okay, it's up to you. I was going to say if it's easy for you to talk right now, I can put you in for a few minutes. Otherwise, you can just wait. Up to you.
Okay. I am coming late because I am working every Thursday, and I come running and opening the computer here, and
Perfect.
yeah, it's difficult because we come back to work in person.
Of course. Of course. Take a break, mute yourself, take a breather, take 2 or 3 minutes to just take a breath and then
While they come back. Okay, thank you.
mejor.
Hello,
Hey, Sadaf.
how are you?
I'm okay. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Excellent. You guys, you were
Very small group. Sorry, I thought it's Friday.
no problem at all. I'm gonna bring everybody back right now anyway.
Oh, it's breakout room?
Yeah, we were in breakout rooms. But I'm bringing everybody back.
Page 50, 50, 60, 60.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm going to start on page 56 today, but hopefully it was good to talk to each other. I would love to hear anything that you guys talked about, and I would especially love to hear if you have specific questions about specific pages or specific ideas. We can make a little list, and I'll make sure I talk about them today. So anybody talk to the group about questions they're working on?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question was, do you have any specific questions about the book that I can answer? Because I know what I want to talk about, but if
I
there's
think
any...
Samira has one.
Oh,
Samira.
okay. Samira,
Yeah.
you're being nominated to speak for your group. Samira, are you there?
Yes, yes, the professor. Or I shared my question with my group, and my question is about what is the difference between focus, attention, and a space of attention.
What is the difference between your focus of attention and your space of attention, right?
Yes, it's a three. One of the first one is what is the difference between focus and attention, and the second one is what is the difference between the focus and a space of attention.
Okay. Like this, right? Focus versus attention.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I love, my God, so good. Okay, and then did you say, was there a third question, Samira? Or those are the two? What's the difference between focus and attention? And what's the difference between focus and space of attention?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to change this just to the way he describes it. In the book, he talks a lot about attentional space, right? So I'm just going to change it to attentional space because that's the, we talked last week about the defining your keywords, right? That's the way he defines this here. So, okay, focus. I think the way he would kind of get at this in the book is focus is the object, thing, idea, work that you are giving your attention to, right? So like if we go back to the book, I'm just going to use his pictures, right? So if you go back to the book, and where's the picture I want? Right. So if you can imagine this dotted circle, okay? This circle with the dots, the lines, this is your attentional space. This is your attention. And as he talks about in the book, your attention is made up of lots of different things. Like I said last week, how tired are you? Did you eat? Is it Ramadan? Did you sleep? There's a lot going on about how much available attention you have, okay? So this is your attention. It's some combination of body energy, brain energy, emotional energy. Do you know what I'm saying? It changes.
Yeah.
Now the focus is these smaller circles here. So your focus could be something. I'll go back to another one of the pictures I really like if I can find it quickly here. This was the one where he's talking about multitasking. Okay, so all these little 4 circles inside of the big attentional space, these are what you're focusing on, where you're putting your focus. So focus, one point of focus in this example is breathing. One point of focus is chewing gum. One point of focus is walking. All of these things that you are focusing on can go inside your attention or your attentional space. And I think to your question, Samira, I would also add here, what's the difference between attention and attentional space? I think in the book, he uses them in a very similar way, right? He uses attentional space when he wants to talk about how much we are able to pay attention to, right? But they're basically the same thing. So what his idea here is, sometimes when there's these things we're trying to focus on, if we're trying to focus on too many things at one time, then just like the first picture I showed here, it doesn't fit into our attentional space, right? So here you see this thing is outside the circle. right? One of these circles is outside, the other one's outside the circle. And this is another important idea, which is, especially when that happens, we have these little attentional residue, right? Even when we're doing some new task, we're focused on some new thing, there's a part of our brain that's still kind of thinking about, oh man, there's that other thing that I didn't finish, or, ooh, I have this project to do, or, oh my gosh, I need to cook dinner tonight, or, oh man, I need to clean. Like for me yesterday, I finally did the sheets. I had to do the laundry and wash the sheets, but for like 3 days before that, right? I was like, I'd be like grading or doing work for my job, and I was thinking in the background like, oh man, I really need to wash the sheets. Oh man. So that's this idea of residue as well. So this residue is inside of our attentional space, as well as the things that we are focusing on. So I'm just going to change a little bit here, Samira. Focus
Okay.
versus, let's just say the same thing. Focus versus attention. Focus versus attention and focus versus attentional space. This is the same. So focus is the object, thing, idea, work that you're giving your attention to. Attentional space is this is a word that we were talking about. How do you come up with a synonym for this word capacity? It's such a good word. Capacity just means ability, right? If you think of your gas tank in your car, it has if it's a 10-gallon tank, you can only put in 10 gallons, right? That's the capacity, right? So your attentional capacity means how much attentional energy, how much attentional space you have. And focus is what you are giving that, what is inside of that attentional space. Does that make better sense?
Yes, dear Professor. Thank you.
Such a good question. But, and thank you, Khatima, for nominating Samira to speak for your group. What other questions? And you guys, that's a perfect example of an idea that is important to understand before we sort of jump into the material I want to talk about today. So any other questions? What else we got?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can I say focus is more stronger than attention?
You could, I think, I've been thinking about this book a lot. I think I get to think about this book every semester, but one thing that I'm thinking about this semester is that focus is almost like your actions, right? Focus is like,
right.
Focus is like your activity, right? Like that's what you do. And attention is kind of like what you think and feel. Now it's not quite that clear, but I think even more than like one is stronger than the other, I think his idea is that the attentional space is, like I said, it's something that we feel kind of, it's an abstract idea. And it's really important because it connects to what we can focus on doing and thinking. I think he'd also say though, like if your goal, right, if your intention is to think about a complex problem, okay, well, maybe your focus then, what your action is, what you're doing is thinking about something very clearly. So that's also another kind of difficult idea to play with, that, okay, even your thoughts in this book, your thoughts can be like an action, like a behavior, but I think that's kind of an argument he's making, right? Like, so focus is what you do, attention is kind of like what you are, what you are able to do. Does that make sense, Rafi?
Yeah, thank you.
Can I add a little, Jeff?
Yeah, I saw you unmute yourself, and then we'll go Khatima and then Susanna. Please, Khatima.
Yeah, this is in our body, we feel like when in our body, but attention is we have to train our mind to do it.
I like that. I like that too. So even if at the beginning you think, okay, attention is kind of what I'm thinking and feeling, focus is where I'm putting my actions, I think that's a good place to start, for sure. For sure. Cool. Susanna, what's up?
But why are you separating attention from focus?
Yeah, I mean, and he doesn't really do that too much, does he? I think that
because
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, please tell me why.
Because I think they are pretty similar, and I just place them in the same boat. Because our attention, it's like based on our focus, you know, or the opposite, vice versa. Because if you don't have the attention, you don't have the focus. I don't know how to explain that. Like for me, it's the same thing. Like I cannot place the difference between them. It's like you're basically making your life hard. It doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that this book, like, I think that Chris Bailey's dream is that if you are like, you know, in a perfect, like he's saying, like a perfect sort of like Buddhist, you know, perfectly mindful, like then, okay, yeah, your action, your attentional space will be the same as your focus, like literally, like whatever I'm thinking and feeling will be what I'm doing. But I think, you know, if you're new to some of these ideas, that it kind of is hard to start at that place. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why at the beginning, you know, that metaphor that big wind up, he's winding up, I think he shows these pictures because this is a way to help people understand, you know, your attention is what you're able to do at a given moment.
Right.
And where you're focusing or the stuff you're doing is,
yeah,
it fits inside of that space. But I also think you're right, Susanna. Eventually, in a perfect world, it's the same.
yeah. You know, we have that bubble. So basically, we have the attentional space, but this is how I understand this book. We have that attentional space, but we have so much things in our head,
Yes.
you know, that we need to choose what to focus on. You know, so if, let's say I have for example, like I have like 10 tasks to do today, right? But
Yep.
my attentional space, like it's limited.
Yep.
I have this much, I'm capable for this much. So knowing that, I have to prioritize, right, things. So I have this, I'm gonna start with this, and I'm gonna focus on this, and then this, and I'm gonna focus on this. But you know, I understand this book this way. So know about, you know, it's giving you a knowledge, like giving you an information about your attentional space, and basically teaching you to be aware of it, and you know, make choices which is right, and you know, which is the first one, and then just like put it in a schedule basically.
Yes. And well,
That's why I cannot separate it.
it makes sense. Because I'd say, and I love, this is like Rafi, we were talking last week about the structure of this type of writing, right? I think to me, Susanna's sort of past the idea. You're like, you don't need the definition of terms anymore, right? Like you get it. You're into like the practical, like how do I apply this? Which is how he organizes the book, right? Like that makes perfect sense. But I think if people are still getting background information, and really this is how academic writing works, you guys, for real. Like usually before the author has a big argument, they have to give you background information. So I think if some people are at the beginning of the book or still trying to understand some of the ideas at the beginning of the book, it makes perfect sense to be, okay, before I think about what this means in real life, I need to make sure I understand, like, what's the difference between focus and attention or energy? You know what I mean? I think that it's sort of just the way that the author organizes the ideas in the book. So, and the other thing that you said there, Susanna, is the sort of a good way for us to transition to what I want to talk about today, which is, okay, I only have a certain amount of attentional space, right? A human being, I'm not a machine. I can't just create. I can't think 24 hours a day. I have, you know, I have a fixed amount, a finite amount. And especially his argument is in 2021 with screens and phones and family and work and life and jobs and all these things. There's all these things trying to fill up our attentional space at all times. So the best thing to do is be clear about what we want to do. And that's this thing about intentions, right? And this is another thing that I love about this book. So I definitely want to talk about intentions, but I also want to make sure I have time to talk about any. So I'm going to today, right after we talk about the warm-up activity, I'm going to start on page 56 today. So before I do that, though, to connect back to what Susanna was just saying about intentions, any questions about anything before page 56? speak now or come to office hours because I'm ready to move on. But if you have questions about earlier stuff, let's do it now.
You mean that the focus, can we say the focus is part of attention? We attention for many things, but we thought about many things, but we do just one of them or two of them or three of them. Focus are the parts of attention that some of the that we can do and some of them not.
I like that. I really like that, Sudaba, because if you look even at this page, let me make sure I pull it up to show you. I love that, Sudaba. That's perfect, because what he says is, if you look, this is the beginning of chapter 3. So in the paper book, it's on page 51. It's on page 51 in the paper book here. He's saying your attentional space is this dotted line, right? So, and then what he says is hyperfocus, what it is here in chapter 3, he finally sort of explains what it is. He says, well, hyperfocus is when you just have one task, so one thing you are focusing on, right? That then fills up your entire space. And that's the simplest way I can explain this hyperfocus thing. So this is a little bit why, okay, what's the difference between attention and focus? Really, for him in this book, there isn't a big difference, because what he's saying is if you choose where to give your focus and you follow some of his ideas, then it will fill up all of your attentional space, and that will allow you to be more productive in less time, right? That's another big argument he makes, is we feel like, especially now in 2021, it's like, oh my God, I have 10 things to do. So if I'm not doing 3 things at one time, I'll never get everything done. And he argues something that can feel a little bit at first weird, or he uses this word counterintuitive. It means like, even though it's true, it feels like it shouldn't be true, right? Like, he argues if you're actually in hyperfocus mode, right? So if you're in this place first, here's your attentional space, you have chosen where to give all of your focus, where to give all of your attention, and it's something you actually care about because you made that choice with intention. What happens is that one thing will fill up all of your attentional space, and you'll be very productive. You'll get a lot of stuff done in a shorter amount of time, and you'll feel better because you'll feel more productive, right? So I think that exactly fits with what Sudaba was saying, right? And a little bit what Susanna was saying about making a choice, right? Okay, I'm aware I have an attentional space, it's limited. I'm also aware that there's this thing I want to do. So if I can set, okay, I really, like I said, for me, it's a really small example, but I had to do it a little bit, right? Like, okay, it's really important to me to wash the sheets. That's going to take me about 10 minutes to get the sheets off the bed, get everything ready, go to the laundry room, put it in the laundry, do the laundry. And then when it finishes, it'll take me about 15 minutes to go get the laundry, put the clean sheets on the, you know, like I had to just say, like, I'm going to do this thing, because when I was trying to do it in multitasking, like, ooh, I'll do it between my Zooms on Wednesday. Guess what? I did not do that, because between Zooms, I had another cup of coffee and sat on the couch and was just like, ugh. So I think that's the idea, right? When you are aware of your attentional space and then you choose what to focus on, it can fill up all that space and help you actually get stuff done. So I think, you know, between Susanna and Sudaba there, I think that's a great way to explain it. That's a great way to explain it. Great.
It means the most important, I can choose the most important things and focus on.
And be productive.
Inshallah, that's the dream, right? That is the dream. That is the dream. Yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream. Okay, so good. Any other questions about this stuff or anything else you talked about in your groups?
Professor,
Yeah.
could you explain something about autopilot mode?
Explain something or something specific that you're thinking of?
Specific things.
What, let me ask you this, Mahbouba. What is still unclear about it?
honestly,
Everything.
I don't have any clear things about this.
Okay, let me ask this.
I ask for you.
Um, autopilot, so you just said it perfectly, Mapobo. We are choosing the thing to focus on, right? In a perfect world, in hyperfocus, we choose what to focus on, we allow it to fill the whole attentional space, and we get it done, right?
Yeah.
Now, this, I would say, autopilot mode is the opposite of that. We don't choose. Things that we don't choose or don't care about that much come in to take all of our attentional space away, right? Like Layla was talking about the covered patio. That probably took a lot of your attention, Layla, but it was really important. Do you know what I mean? Like it was something you cared about. It meant a lot to you. So, okay, when you have people in your house working on the project, you can't control. Maybe the person will say, oh, excuse me, homeowner, I have a question or something like this, right? But that's that's okay because it's important. But what he is suggesting, what he really argues is autopilot mode is kind of like my example of, okay, I taught a Zoom yesterday. It finished at, what time did my first Zoom finish? My first Zoom finishes at 2:30. Then I have class at 3:15. Okay, so I have an hour and 15 minutes. Now, I could have been productive in that time, but I kind of chose to go on autopilot and I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to sit on the couch and look at my phone. And then once I make that choice, you know what I mean? Whether it's texting my brother or playing a game on my phone or checking some website, or I don't have social media, but for people who use Facebook and Instagram, checking Instagram, whatever, that's autopilot mode, right? You're not even thinking. You're just sitting on the couch and then an hour goes by. And that's autopilot mode. Does that make sense, Mahbuba?
Yeah, it means that something is not important for us and we don't care about this or we don't think about this.
Maybe
Automatically. It just comes like automatically.
I think Suzanne is right. It's more important that it's automatic because I think, like I said last time, the two examples that he talks about in the book that I use too is, okay, you're breathing. That's autopilot mode. You don't need to think about your breathing to breathe. Or when you're driving, right? Imagine it would be horrible if every time you were turning your car, you're like, okay, now I'm turning on my turn signal and I'm looking over my shoulder and I see that there's no car. Okay, I'm starting to move my arm. Like that would be horrible, right? Like, so autopilot mode is helpful in many situations, but if it's about schoolwork or our family or the most important things in our life, right? If it comes to the most important things in our life, like our relationships with our family, the work that we're doing for school, the work that we're doing for our career, if we're doing some of those things in autopilot mode, he's suggesting that might not be good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love Susanna said, think about autopilot mode is more about automatic as opposed to always bad, always good, right? So if you're in autopilot mode, you're not really thinking and you're just doing stuff. Some situations that's great, right? But other situations, if it might not be. Other situations it might not be.
Yeah. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah. Can
Mm-hmm.
I say maybe one example of that could be
Porfa.
when people normally go to work and don't have the children with them, when some accidents happen, is the parents didn't want it to do that, but they forgot the baby in the car because they automatically have their mind to do something. Yeah,
Love
I
it.
think.
Love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. If we are forgetting our baby in the car, or in my family, my mom, may she rest in peace, but my mom, before she died, she could never, like, we would always tease her because one time when my younger brother was 6, we were at a store and we left the store without him, without Tyler. And like, I'm just thinking of my mom and like, and not to be mean, right? But like, it just shows, yeah, if we're leaving our baby in the car, or if my mom was leaving my brother Tyler, yeah, our mind is somewhere else, right? Like our brain is totally somewhere else. Our thinking is in autopilot mode somewhere. And again, human beings, he says this in the book, have autopilot mode for a good reason, right? But if we're not aware of it, then sometimes we leave our baby in the car, or we leave my brother at the drugstore. You know what I mean? I love that example, Reina. I love it. Great. Any other questions before I go to page 56? Great questions. Cool. And we got kind of some of the most important ideas, right? I mean, like attentional space, focusing on specific tasks, autopilot mode. Those are some of the most important ideas to understand from the first 30, 40, 50 pages. So because of Sudaba's great question or great comment, I sort of already got to introduce this information here on page 50 and 51. I just want to make sure that his definition of hyperfocus makes sense to us. So again, hyperfocus, very simply, he presents it as, even here at the bottom of this page, right? He says, hyperfocus is when you choose what you're doing, and then what you're doing fills your attentional space completely, right? So you choose very clearly what you want to focus on, and you allow it to fill your entire attentional space. Any questions about these two images, these two graphics, about what's going on page 51 and 52? Cool.
I didn't read chapter 4.
That's okay. Did you read chapter 3?
Yes, 3.
Okay, perfect. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today is chapter 3. So, and again, I understand. I learned very quickly when I started teaching. Just because you assign the reading does not mean students will do it. So there's no judgment. You know, I always say the more time you can give to reading, the better your writing about that reading will be. But there's no criticism. You know, I'm happy to explain ideas from the book. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to focus on then is this thing before we practice some more summarizing and paraphrasing. I don't think I'm going to have you write today, but we're definitely going to practice that skill. I wanted to talk about what's here on page 56. I'm looking at page 56, and I'm just going to read a little bit. Of course. And people sending me a message in the chat, of course, take care of yourself, right? Whatever you guys need to do, take care of yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to read to the list here that starts on page 56. So 56, at the beginning of this chapter, chapter 3, he defines what it is, right? But then just like Susanna was saying a moment ago, the rest of the book really is about how to do it, right? He says at the beginning of the book, the goal is to be very practical. It means something you can use and do and apply in your real life. And that's definitely, this is when he really starts to say, hey, this isn't just a theory, right? Like here's how to use it in real life. So starting on page 56, he says the 4 stages of hyperfocus. So in any given moment, you're focused on either your external environment, the thoughts in your head, or both. Engaging solely with your external environment means you're effectively living on autopilot. You slip into this mode as you wait for the traffic light to change or find yourself bouncing around a loop of the same apps on your phone. When you're engaged only in the thoughts in your head, you're daydreaming. This can happen when you go on a quick walk without your phone, your mind wanders in the shower, or you go for a jog. You enter into hyperfocus when you engage both your thoughts and your external environment, and then direct them at one thing intentionally. So, how do we enter hyperfocus mode? The science suggests that we pass through 4 states as we begin to focus. First, we're focused and productive. Then, assuming we don't get distracted or interrupted, our mind begins to wander. Third, we make note of this mind wandering. This can take a while, especially if we don't frequently check in with what's consuming our attentional space. On average, we notice about 5 times an hour that our mind has wandered. And fourth, we shift our focus back to the original object of attention. So the 4 stages of hyperfocus are modeled on this framework. To hyperfocus, you must 1, choose a productive or meaningful object of attention. 2, eliminate as many external and internal distractions as you can. 3, focus on that chosen object of attention. And 4, continually draw your focus back to this attention, the object of attention. You know what I'm going to ask now? Does this make sense? This is very important that you understand this. Does this make sense? If it does not, stop me and let's talk about it. Sadaf says, yes, that's great. And I'll give you guys a minute. It takes time to think and process this stuff. So look at this, look at what I've got on the screen, think about, especially look at these 4 steps, you guys. Like really, again, a thing I love about this book, he's always giving you, he's really summarizing his own book in live time, right? Like he writes these 2 paragraphs and then he's got a list of 4 things that really just summarize what he just said. So again, Layla, as you read this book, I promise you, he's making you practice reading skills. So it's another reason I love this book. So especially these number 1, 2, 3, and 4, do these things make sense? And if not, stop me and let's talk about them. Sadaf says yes. Cherie says yes. Making Jeff happy. That's great.
Can you explain number 2?
Yes, number 2, eliminate as many external and internal distractions as you can. Now, if you're able to, Layla, read chapter 4. Chapter 4 is literally an entire chapter about number 2, okay? But really, it just means eliminate as many external, internal distractions as you can. This is like my example of if you have people in your home working on the outdoor patio, while you're doing a Zoom, I mean, it's going to be impossible to focus on the Zoom, right? Because you have distractions, not a negative thing, Layla, right? But you have things coming at you that are asking for your attention. Or of course, all of you beautiful and incredible mothers and fathers with children at home, these are, if your goal is to focus on homework and you've got a 6-year-old knocking at the door, that's something that's just going to take your attention away from the reading, right? So what he says here again, and I want to be clear here, distraction, he doesn't say that good or bad, right? It's not a judgment. He's just saying as much as you are able to, if you can, before you sit down to focus, before you sit down to do whatever it is your intention to do, if you can get rid of internal and external distractions, that's going to help you be more productive. And in chapter 4, he gives a lot more detail about what's an external distraction, what's an internal distraction, how are ways, how do we do that? Like I said at the beginning of class briefly, the way you set up your space where you work is a big way to sort of like help prevent distraction, right? Another tiny example he talks about in chapter 4 is, turn your phone on airplane mode or turn it off. This is a way to control external distractions, right?
Say again in chapter 3.
Say again?
I think in chapter 4, they review again.
He definitely does that a lot, yeah.
I think he review.
Yes, he does.
I don't.
But remember, chapter 4, the title of chapter 4 is literally taming distractions, right? I mean, like taming meaning control, right? So chapter 4 is all about distractions, what they are, and he gives some very practical suggestions for how to, as much as we're able to, right? Like if you've got kids at home, you've got important responsibilities. You know what I mean? Like that's just what it is. Some of your attention is going to have to be available for your children. Do you know what I mean? So chapter 4 is all about what distractions are and giving us some suggestions and ideas for how to be aware of them, right? Even if we can't control them, it's good to be aware of them so that we realize, oh man, I'm distracted right now. Okay, like my kid's knocking on the door. I'm going to set this thing down. I'm going to go see what my child needs. Okay, now I'm giving my attention to my child. Okay, but what we do instead, what humans usually do is, my kid's at the door and I'm like, yeah, what? Oh, hold on. And then you're talking to someone else in your family. Hey, we need to get the baby some food. He's hungry. It's like we're trying to do like 5 things at once. And he's saying, when we can avoid that, we should try. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Any other questions about the list, about how to hyperfocus? Okay. If not, then the thing that I like to talk the most about is here on page, oh, I should have had this slide up. So this is what I was talking about, 56 through 60. I want to go to 65 through 68 because a few people have talked about this. Sudaba talked about it. Susanna talked about it. Oh, maybe I was already there. Excuse me. Hold on.
Which page?
Let me, that's what I'm looking up. I'm sorry, forgive me. I'm going to page 65 in the paper book. Here it is on the, here's the computer version. 65, how to set stronger intentions. Now again, last week you heard me saying like, oh, this is some of my favorite stuff. And it's true, every week that we talk about this book, I talk about my favorite parts of the book. I think this idea about setting intentions is so important. Because what I've learned from, especially from teaching, it's why I don't like busy work, right? It's why I try not to give you guys a lot of lessons in Canvas with due dates every week, just because, right? Like doing things that we don't really care about, it doesn't work. I mean, like, it's life, we're humans, we have to do that, right? Like sometimes we have to do stuff that we don't feel really passionate about, right? But if we can set clear intentions, and so that our goals, the tasks that we're doing, the things we choose to focus on, when they have real meaning to our hearts and our minds and our spirits, that's when we actually love the work that we do. We actually choose to do the work. And the way that he talks about this is intentions, right? And this is something that's really, really, I think, really powerful and really important. So the activity that I have for us planned here is, I'll show you on the slide, but it starts here on page 65. And it continues on to page 68. So it's a little bit of a, it's a few pages to look at. But what I wanted you to do, and I think we should do this in groups. This is, I think, how I want to do this right now. But here's my activity that I wanted to do is, so look at page 65 through 68. So to read from how to set stronger intentions to starting a hyperfocus ritual. So that looks like here, how to set stronger intentions, and all of the pages all the way to starting a hyperfocus ritual, okay? So again, in the paper book, that's page 65, all of 66, all of 67, and half of page 68, okay? So those are the pages that I want you to look at. And then I just want you to really get some practice thinking about how would you summarize the ideas on these pages. Because again, here's a little preview of the final paper. You know, for example, one part of the final paper, I will ask you to summarize one of the research studies or examples in the book. So if you look on page 65, it starts right here with saying, over the last few decades, Peter Gollwitzer has been one of the most renowned contributors to the field of intention. He's perhaps best known for his groundbreaking research on the importance of not only setting intentions, but making them very specific, blah, 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 blah. And then for the rest of these pages, you see this, this particular scientist's name, right? The author, Chris Bailey, uses this Gollwitzer, right? So he spends almost 3 pages of his book talking about this person and some of the research studies that he did. And in fact, I'll just point you to this paragraph that starts with setting more specific intentions. It's the first paragraph on page 66, setting more specific intentions. And then here, in one study, Gollwitzer and his research colleague, blah, 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 blah. So what I'd like you to do is read these pages, right? Read page 65 through 68, and then talk to your group. Don't worry about writing it. We'll just keep this a speaking activity. But talk to your group about how would you summarize what this study is, right? So in a way also, I'm asking you to summarize a summary, because Bailey in his book really is just giving us, the reader, a summary of what this research study was, right? So I promise, Chris Bailey's kind of done the real hard work. He's already summarized probably a 20-page research study, right? What I want you to do is read Bailey's summary, read these pages, and then if I said to you, okay, Sadaf, I want you to write 250 word summary or a nice long paragraph summary about this study that Bailey writes about in the book. So that's the task that I want you to do. But again, I don't want you to feel like you need to sit down and write right now. Really, I'd like you to just read this and talk about what you would do for a summary. Talk about that with the people in your group. Make sense?
Are you giving the time?
I want to give you guys at least 15 minutes. I think maybe 20 minutes, and then I'll come in and talk to each group. This is important. It's important for you guys to understand this information in the book, and it's important for you guys to get more practice summarizing ideas from the book. So let's say 20 minutes, and I'll come talk to each group. Yeah, Susanna.
So do you want so one of our group to read to everyone and then just summarize it, but not that?
Yeah, I think, how could I say this? My goal for putting you in a group is so that you can talk to each other, make sure that you understand what the main idea is, and can talk to each other to sort of say, oh, if I were writing a summary, you know, if I was going to write a paragraph, here's what I would put in the paragraph. So that's my goal for what you talk to with each other. I don't necessarily need, you know, one summary from each group. If you guys have one, I'd love to listen to it. But I think it's more important that you guys talk to each other about these ideas and talk to each other about what information you would include in a short summary of this. Thank you, Susanna. Such a good question. Such a good question. Any other questions?
I know it has to do with the writing, but if we want to summarize, is it right to start according to Goldwitzer?
I mean, you see, yeah, I mean, you could even, and this one's a little tricky too, because I'm asking you to summarize a summary. So you could say, you know, in Bailey, it's only last names for MLA formatting. You'll learn that next semester. But in Bailey, you know, in Bailey's hyperfocus, he summarizes a study that was done by Goldwitzer, blah, blah. And you know what I mean? Like, that's a great way to sort of introduce it. Because really, if you were going to cite something, you'd be citing hyperfocus, right? You're not actually citing the original research study. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Or, you know, I'll give you, yeah, even, you know, especially with introductions, I have no problem giving you guys like an example. So in hyperfocus, Bailey describes a study conducted by, very classic sort of research writing here, conducted by Goldwitzer. And then, of course, you do the citation for where the quote starts. In Goldwitzer's study, yeah, so like if you're thinking, how would you start it? Something like this would be a perfect way to sort of start the paragraph that I'm imagining. You know what I mean? Does that make, Susanna, that it sounds like that makes sense to you. Does this make sense to everybody else? Because that's such a good question, Susanna. Cool. Well, I'll put this in the chat. So again, feel free to use this as your sort of first sentence for how you would summarize the main idea of these pages, okay? And I'll put this in the chat. And I'll broadcast this to you guys when you're in your groups too. Okay.
But so, can I ask another question? I know it's a grammatical thing.
Of course.
But we don't say, when we say in a book hyperfocus, let's say if we start that way, are we supposed to quote the hyperfocus book? Aren't we supposed to?
In this case, we're really only practicing summarizing and paraphrasing in this class. You're going to get a lot more information about quotes in the next class. So you don't need to put quotes around anything. In MLA formatting, you usually do need to just have what's called an in-text citation. It means, okay, I told you the name of the book, I told you the name of the author, and I'm going to give you the page number where I'm getting this information from, but I'm not really quoting. I don't need to put it in quotations, but I am sort of telling the reader, hey, these aren't my ideas. This is my words, my summary of the ideas on page 67. And then this, when I made this in italics, when I put the slanted words, that's just MLA formatting. This is me like really going fast here, but MLA formatting for book titles is just put it in italics. Maybe that's what you were talking about. Quote, APA format is, there's all these different formats, but yeah, some book titles you'd put like this.
Yes, I'm not familiar with LMA format, that's why.
You'll be very familiar with it, don't worry. MLA formatting is titles of books, movies, blah, 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 in italics. Yeah. That's not even a grammar question. That's just a purely stylistic. That's just a, I hate it. I hate it. It's fine. It's my job to teach it. It's fine. It's fine. It's just.
Our job is to learn. We got to learn.
It's just rules for the sake of rules. Do you know what I mean? Great. Okay, so you guys ready to talk to each other? And as always, if you guys, if it's easier for you guys to sort of work on your own and you can't really speak to the people in your group, that's fine too. But I think it'd be great for people to talk to each other who want to talk to each other. So.
Excuse me.
Please.
You put me in the same group you did add before.
Yes. Yes.
Can you put everyone in different group because they didn't read?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, how can I do this?
Sorry.
No.
Who didn't read?
It's not my business. Just I need to.
Who didn't read?
I want they learn something with different people.
Yeah. Let me do this. I'll change the groups. I'll change the groups so that they're bigger.
I'm sorry, friends.
No, it's not personal. Like I said, like it.
I understand. They know something more.
No, it's like I know how you feel because again, like I'm the teacher who assigns the reading, and then I want to talk about the reading, and then people didn't do the reading, so I completely understand. And again, like you just said, Layla, if you didn't have time to read because life and your children and your family, that's not a problem. It's not a
problem. I didn't read chapter 4, 5, 6. I need time to do it.
It's all good. Let me do this. I'll do 2 big groups.
Okay.
People who want to talk can talk. And if you didn't read and you just want to use this time to read, mute yourself and work on your own. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, thank you.
Professor.
Tell me.
Just give me a second. I'm going to switch on to my phone because I have to go pick up the kids so I can be in a group because it always gets messed up.
Of course.
Busy mommy, busy mommy.
Yeah, mom life. That's a cool life.
Lots of things to fill your attention.
Oh yeah. But I learned from the book. I'm telling you, I really love this book because it gives me so much, the things to learn and just apply it in my daily life. And I just love it.
I'm really happy to hear that. I don't want to sound too corny, but when I chose this, I started using this book about 3 years ago. And really, it's my dream. I think it is a book that can kind of change your life. I really think it can, I don't want to be too corny about it, but okay. 2 big rooms. If you didn't read yourself, if you don't want to talk, mute yourself. If you do want to talk to each other, rooms are open now, and I'll come talk to the groups too.
Oh. Okay, so what group should I go now? It says room 1 and then over there room 2. So I guess okay, got it.
I just changed. All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit. progress. This class went so fast. I can't believe we're almost done. It's because you guys have such good questions. I love this book. I know that I know that a lot of people, you know, not everybody can talk, but the people who do talk, I'm so glad you guys like it. And I hope if you're one of our many students with your screens off and muted, I hope that you guys enjoy the book as some of the other people do, because I love talking about this stuff. So
I think Sadaf is ready.
say what?
Sadaf is ready
For what?
for share.
Do we want to hear what's going on? Sadaf, what's going on?
You're saying that we have to summarize it, right?
Are you going to present something to the class right now?
Well, we were trying to summarize it, and Sadaf is ready to share our thought.
Did you write it down, Sadaf?
No.
I just write about like 2 sentences, and I would have got the main idea from that, but I have a outline, like each paragraph I made outline like about 5 sentences.
Ooh. Is it on your computer right now?
No, it's on my
Notebook.
notebook.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, read. If it was on your computer, I was just going to say you could share your screen, but yeah, please.
So the outline that I just made from each paragraph, and I've got them like there is 5 of them.
Okay.
For the whole 3 pages.
Yeah.
Like first one, let go of limiting beliefs. Be clear but flexible. Take action. Ask for what you want, then let go and trust the process.
Ooh.
Remind yourself daily, repeat for yourself.
Ooh.
And the main idea, like weights and goals are not very helpful. A specific intention is much more likely to going through and helpful for a fast process.
Love it. That was, I didn't want to interrupt you. Anything else?
Just the.
I love it. Will you read? I want to hear from the other group too, and respect your time. We should go. Actually, I'll watch the recording again. I love it, Sadaf. Your summary, like if you could just have a 1-sentence summary, that you got it, you nailed it, right? Like goals versus intentions. Vague goals, not very helpful. Specific intentions, again, this isn't his opinion, right? This researcher, Goldwitzer, found this, proved it in these studies, right? And I see Samira posted in the chat, Peter Goldwitzer explained how to set stronger goal. He mentioned about vague goals and specific intentions. The specific intention is necessary to increase our overall success in our life. Definitely a main idea in there. As he mentioned the term, make a very detailed plan on how you want to achieve real, oh my, yes. And I'll show you mine because I want to make sure I show you a real example. I know I'm going really quick here, but I got to talk to both groups. Again, what you guys were just doing is sort of like, I hope that right now you can start to see why we do these classes integrated now. Like what you just did is really a reading activity, but it prepares you to sit down and write, you know what I mean? Like, and if you ask yourself, well, I'm going to ask you for the final project, you know, like, hey, write a short summary of these 2 or 3 pages. The first thing you should do is like, sit down and read, look at, read really closely, like sharpen that skill of critical reading and looking for the main idea, right? So I hope, anyway, I'm just happy because you guys were able to identify the main idea very quickly. And that's the first step to writing, a summary. So here's this would be a longer summary, but just as an example, and I will post this in Canvas. So just like in the live resources material, this is not a secret. Like I'll give you the Word document, use this as a template, use this as an example. I won't ask you to summarize these same pages for points, but it's still going to be helpful to look at. So you guys touched on a lot of this, and I talked about this a little bit with Reina about this. I think there's 2 big ideas on these pages, right? So here's my short summary. In this section of chapter 3, Bailey writes about how people can set more powerful goals and then get them done more effectively. He does this by discussing research conducted by Peter Gollwitzer, who argues that specific intentions make it much more likely that people will actually be successful in accomplishing their goals. Bailey then gives many specific examples of how to make general intentions into more specific, quote, implementation intentions. Specific implementation plans are helpful because, like habits, they help the brain go into autopilot mode. Autopilot mode can help people because it makes things feel easier when it's time to do the work needed to accomplish the goals. At the end of these pages, Bailey also says that there are two very important things to keep in mind when creating effective intentions. First, it is important to genuinely care about the goal. So if a person's goal is to get a 100% grade on an essay, but they don't really care about improving their writing, then it will be very difficult to create an effective implementation plan. Further, if a goal is easy to accomplish, then it might not be necessary to create a very specific implementation plan. Bailey concludes this section by suggesting that setting specific implementation intentions are most helpful when goals are very difficult or there are many different goals taking up a person's attentional space. Now, again,
Nice.
native speaker with 2 master's degrees and a Fulbright. I'm not expecting you guys to write like this, okay? But what I hope in showing you this is 2 things. It's not to scare you, okay? One is so that when you read this, I hope that you give yourself credit to say, oh yeah, though that was the main idea. I did understand what I read then, like I get it, you know what I mean? And second is just to keep showing you more examples of the structure of this type of writing. I think academic writing is really hard to just like read about in a book and then practice. I think the best thing to do is see examples of it, then try and practice. More examples, try and practice. So that's,
Can I ask a question?
of course, Susanna, of course, yeah.
So when you wrote over here, so if a person goal is to get 100% grade on an essay, so you provided your own example. Can you do it when you summarize?
Yeah, good question. I mean, in my class, you can't.
In your class? Okay, but the overall, can you do that?
No.
It depends. I mean, like this also, it just shows like that's a deeper question because only in an ESL class, you guys, only in an ESL class will you only summarize just to summarize, right? Usually a summary is part of a research paper or an analysis paper or an argument. You know what I mean? So if you're writing a summary and you're explaining an idea because it connects to your thesis statement, then I think you can absolutely use your own references, your own examples, your own ideas, because ultimately you're only going to summarize another person's ideas so that you can connect them to your own thesis, usually, right? And so that's why I'm saying in my ESL class, you can, because that's how you're really actually going to summarize when you're, when you're getting a college degree.
So, but when you do it overall summarizing, you can't, right?
I mean, yeah, the way that
because not everyone is Professor Jeff, and there is a
poor
guidelines.
People. Yeah, those poor people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in most ESL textbooks, especially, but you guys are about to be done with ESL writing at least, right? Most ESL textbooks are very clear to try and help people understand what summarizing is. A rule that people love to put in textbooks is never your own ideas, never your own examples. So yes, you are an excellent student. You have learned that rule. That is correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're even over time. We're late. Get out of here. I've got nothing more to say. There's no new. Keep reading. Keep reading. Keep reading. If this activity that we did today is basically what the final project is going to be, I'm going to ask you to next week, we're going to practice paraphrasing a short paragraph from chapter 4 or chapter 5. We'll see how fast we can go.
Okay, our from this book.
Say what?
Our finals.
Yeah, and
will be from this book.
Yeah, from this book. I'll introduce it next week. I know that I said I just ran out of time today, and it's fine because we've still got 3 weeks till the end of the semester. So, but yes, like I said, if you're thinking about the final essay, the best thing to do is read as much as you can. Read of this book as much as you can. And as you're reading, ask yourself, you know, read 5 pages and then say, how would I summarize that 5 pages? If you're doing that, you are preparing yourself for the final essay.
Okay.
Yes, Susan.
I know you said you're going to introduce it next week, but I'm just curious. Our final work, are we going to take it on computer or is it going to be by Zoom?
What do you mean? Oh, will you submit?
Well, yes. So are we going to submit or we're just going to do like kind of, you know, the school in person way?
Yeah, submit. No, it'll be submit. We're not going to do, we're not going to do, I'm not going to sort of time you. And then, you know what I mean? Like there's not going to be a clock ticking while you do the work. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome.
No, you guys have enough. I mean, that's horrible in person. That's really horrible on Zoom. Oh my God, it's horrible.
Yeah, no, it just, you know, I don't mind to do it, but because it's, you know, it's not our first language, it takes I know it is very easy thing, and don't get me wrong, but it is kind of hard for us because
I think
we don't have that, you know, the richness of language, and it takes us, you know, kind of a lot of time to put our thoughts together.
A timed writing, I think, is useless. I really do, because think about the attentional space. If 50% of your attentional space is taken up with how much time do I have left, that means what you're writing is not going to be as good as it could be because 50% of your attentional space is stressed about time. Like, what's the point of that? Like, so anyway, that's
good.
More of Jeff's teaching philosophy there. That's just my opinion. Just my opinion. If you love time writing, I love you. It's all good. It's all good.
How about the mirror?
Which one? What mirror?
Because some professor wants the students put the mirror behind the
Behind what?
To test your screen for cheating?
Yeah, for cheating.
Oh my goodness. Are you serious?
That just made me I wanted to like say a prayer.
Oh my God. Oh Jesus, it just brought me back to Armenia. Oh my goodness.
I mean, that just like, I mean, now like, I just feel like in that case, that's just like trying to scare people.
I hate it.
Oh my God.
So sorry, you guys. Yeah, I think online teaching has broken some teachers' brains. I think they have no idea what they're doing. It doesn't matter. I shouldn't even say bad things about other people.
No.
I know I'm doing it this way. Some people might not like it, but I have very specific reasons for why I'm doing it this way. And I think it's not helpful to pretend like we're just like teach as if we're still face to face. No, like it's a totally different, you got to have to rewrite the whole rule book. You know, it's a different world, man. This is a totally different thing.
And it's more productive.
Oh God. it's getting dangerous. I'm saying bad things about teachers. We should go. Okay, goodbye. You're wonderful. If you have questions,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Leila. Bye, Susanna. Bye, Shirley.
Bye.
Bye, dear professor.
Bye, Samira.
Bye.
Bye, Rena.
Bye, Professor.
Bye, Nasima.
Bye, Professor.
Bye, Fazia. See you.
I have a question, Professor.
Please, yeah. Let me stop the recording.
I